Welcome to BL Stories, where romance, drama, and unforgettable boys' love come to life. Love knows no limits, and the best stories aren't always straight. Subscribe now and join our growing BL-loving family. Chapter 25. If anyone were asked when things started to fall apart, their answers would probably all be different. For Scotty, it was likely the moment the holding room door was torn off its hinges and he was thrown against the wall. For Thomas, he might have agreed. For Jesse and Rivers, it could have been the instant the elders before them fell, lost in an explosion of light and heat so intense it scorched the air. For Marcus, it might have been the sound of his mate's desperate cry echoing in his mind. And for that unlucky pack guard watching over Carson and Adrian, maybe it was when pain jolted through his body as chaos broke loose all around him. Lucas POV. When I finally forced my eyes open, the bright light stabbed through them, sending sharp tingles across my face. I shut them quickly, then tried again, slower this time. The second thing I noticed was the dull ache in my side and a deep, throbbing pain in my chest. I didn't dare move, afraid it would get worse. The faint beeping of machines told me where I was. A hospital room. The bed was stiff and uncomfortable, but it was the least of my concerns. Outside, I could hear distant booms and shouting, gunfire, maybe, and in that instant, everything came rushing back. Adrian. The look on his face. The gun pointed at me. The searing pain before everything went dark. My breathing quickened. I tried to calm myself when the door suddenly burst open. Adrian stepped inside. He looked exhausted, his clothes torn and smeared with dirt. There was a small cut above his left eye, and his bruised hands looked like they'd seen too many fights. Without saying a word, he grabbed the wheelchair from the corner of the room and rolled it toward me. I frowned, confused, as he started adjusting the tubes in my arm. Adrian? My voice came out weak and rough. His eyes widened. You're awake? He whispered in disbelief, falling to his knees beside my bed. His hand clasped mine tightly. I just stared at him, unsure what to make of his reaction. You're awake, he said again, softer this time. His eyes glistened, heavy with emotion. Adrian, what happened? I asked faintly. He shook his head, his expression full of regret. I'm sorry, Lucas. I never meant to hurt you. I never wanted. Don't, I interrupted gently. Not now. I can't handle this right now. He nodded, swallowing hard. Okay, he said quietly. His gaze lingered on me, filled with guilt and something else, something that felt like pleading. Another explosion sounded nearby, followed by a scream. My heart jumped, and my eyes shot open. Adrian immediately straightened, returning to the tubes and wires. What's happening? I asked, watching his every move. He didn't answer. Who shot me? I pressed. He glanced at me briefly, then said, I'll explain everything later. Right now, I need to get you out of here. I groaned as he helped me sit up, the pain flaring through my chest. Adrian slid an arm around me, lifting me carefully into the wheelchair. I can walk, I protested weakly. He ignored me, tucking a pillow into my lap before pushing me through the hallway. Later, I found myself lying in another bed, this time in Carson's living room, which had been turned into a makeshift medical bay. The room buzzed with movement. Exhausted pack members moved in and out, their clothes torn and faces streaked with grime. Adrian had stayed only long enough to make sure I was safe. Before leaving, he pressed a brief kiss to my forehead and whispered, I love you. Then he was gone. That was 4 hours ago. From what I gathered, the pack was under attack again, an organized raid eerily similar to the one before. No one knew who was behind it or how they managed to breach our defenses. Marcus, Scotty, Jesse, and others came and went. Only Lakin and Rivers stayed close, refusing to leave my side. Grady sat silently in the corner, clearly worried, probably because, like me, he hadn't seen or heard from Thomas in hours. Any updates? I asked Lakin, who was unnecessarily fluffing my pillows for the third time. He shook his head. It's bad out there. The enemy keeps getting reinforcements, but we're still holding the line, he said, trying to smile. But I could see the fear behind his eyes. I looked toward the window, hearing distant echoes of the battle, and silently prayed that after everything we'd survived, it wouldn't all end here. Thomas's POV. The air was thick with smoke, forcing me to bury my nose in my sleeve as I pushed through the alley. Bodies lined the path, and the air was heavy with loss. Our defenses were gone, shattered in minutes. The attack had been too precise, too planned. Someone on the inside had helped them. They'd hit our weapons storage first, taken down the perimeter guards, and surrounded the camp before we could even sound the alarm. The attackers were heavily armed, organized, and relentless. Worse, they weren't strangers. They were werewolves, though I couldn't recognize their pack. Exhausted, I stumbled over debris, forcing myself forward. My muscles burned from hours of fighting, and I hadn't shifted in what felt like forever, saving what strength I had left. Then I saw them, 3 men dragging Adrian, who fought like his life depended on it. A low growl built in my throat as I prepared to shift. Energy rippled through me, bones tightening as I felt the transformation begin, until something slammed into me from behind. I hit the ground hard, rolling away and springing back to my feet. My new opponent was massive, thick-necked and powerful. Before I could react, he charged. We collided, struggling for control. I struck him across the face, breaking free for a moment, then landed a solid hit to his side. He staggered, but I didn't stop. With one final twist, I brought him down. Panting, I looked back toward the alley, but the men were gone. And so was Adrian. Lucas POV. When I woke again, I was met with a mix of good, bad, and confusing news. The good, the enemy had finally retreated. The confusing, they pulled back even though they were winning. And the bad, they took Adrian with them. We gathered together in the room as Carson shared more shocking updates. Only our small group was allowed to hear what he had to say, which somehow made it all feel heavier. Are you sure it's her? Lakin asked, disbelief written all over his face. Carson nodded grimly. We questioned him thoroughly. If he were lying, we'd know. They had managed to capture one of the attackers during the raid. So where do we go from here? Grady asked, breaking his silence. Thomas answered before Carson could. We're going to handle this. You'll stay here with the others and keep things steady. Grady rolled his eyes, clearly frustrated, then turned back to Carson. So, what you're saying is, Victor's daughter wants revenge for her father's death in the last raid, and she's taken Adrian as part of her plan? I asked from my spot on the narrow bed. Carson gave a slow nod. Exactly. From what we've gathered, the kidnapping was likely planned from the start. She has someone on the inside feeding her information. Taking Adrian gives her control. She's probably expecting us to follow her terms. Grady crossed his arms. So now you finally believe me? I told you Adrian and the others were innocent. Carson sighed, patient but firm. We've already apologized for that, Grady. They were suspects, nothing more. We can't stay stuck in the past. Right now, we need to focus on getting him back. His eyes swept across the room, pausing on each of us before settling on his beta. The only plan that matters, I said quietly, is rescuing Adrian. Carson looked at me, his expression softening for a moment. Don't worry, Lucas, he said, his tone steady and sure. We'll bring him home. Something in his voice made me believe him, and I finally let myself relax, drifting back into sleep. When I woke again, the room was a storm of activity. People were packing gear, shouting orders, and rushing in and out. Every corner buzzed with tension and purpose. It was clear that a mission was about to begin. Carson's POV. I could sense his fear even through the brave smile he gave me. Lakin was trying to be strong, and I admired him for that. His quiet courage reminded me why I had to do this, and gave me strength knowing he'd be okay while I was gone. I pulled him into my arms, ignoring the noise around us. For a moment, it was just the two of us. When I stepped back, he held on for a second longer before letting go, and I ruffled his hair to make him smile. Stay strong, I said softly. He nodded, determination flickering in his eyes. I knew he would be fine. Scotty's POV. Our goodbye was short but full of emotion. I pulled her close, grateful for even a moment of warmth before the mission ahead. She smiled up at me, eyes bright and full of faith, and I couldn't help but return it. "I always get carried away with you," I said lightly. She chuckled and shook her head. "You'll be fine, Scotty. You'll go with Carson and the others, get your brother back, and then come home to me. I know you will." Her calm voice carried the kind of reassurance she usually gave her patients, and somehow it worked on me too. "You're right," I said, trying to sound confident. As long as she believed in me, I could do this. Thomas's POV. He wouldn't even look at me. No matter how many jokes I made or how many times I tried to get him to smile, Grady just stood there, stiff, silent, and refusing to meet my eyes. "Come on, Grady, don't be like this," I said softly. His lower lip trembled and he bit down hard, trying to hold back tears. He wasn't the emotional type, but today, it was clear he was struggling. My chest tightened seeing him that way. "I'll be fine," I said gently. "We all will. I'll be back before you know it." Still, he didn't respond. But he didn't walk away either, and when I took his hands, he didn't pull back. "You're really going to let me leave without even a goodbye hug?" I teased lightly, trying to break the tension. "Nothing. Just silence." I sighed, stepping back. That's when he finally looked at me. There it was, the fear he'd been trying to hide. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. I reached out, tilting his chin up so he'd face me. His eyes glistened with emotion, and for a moment neither of us spoke. "I love you," I said quietly, pressing a kiss to his forehead. Then I pulled him close for one last hug before stepping back to grab my gear. Just as I turned away, his voice called out, shaky but determined. "Hey, Thomas." I looked back. "You better come back, or I'm selling all your stuff online." I couldn't help but laugh, grateful for the levity. "I'll be back," I promised, and this time I meant it. Lucas POV. Rivers was falling apart. He clung to Marcus, tears streaming down his face as he sobbed into his mate's chest. Marcus looked torn between heartbreak and helplessness, and I couldn't help but feel for him. "I just got you back," Rivers cried, voice breaking. Marcus held him tighter. "It's okay. I'll be back soon, I promise." But Rivers shook his head, refusing to let go. Marcus glanced at Carson, silently asking for help. "Rivers," Carson said gently, stepping forward. "You have to be strong. Your mate's about to do something brave, for the pack, and for his brother. He needs you to believe in him." "I just got him," Rivers whispered again, eyes red and full of pain. Carson placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "He'll come back to you. I promise." Marcus looked at him, his own eyes wet. "I swear I'll return," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. Carson nodded. "We've got his back, Rivers. You can trust us." Before either could speak again, Carson turned and began issuing final orders for the team to move out. Marcus gave Rivers one last look before gathering his gear. Nearby, Jesse wrapped an arm around Rivers, whispering something comforting to him as he broke down again. As I watched the scene unfold, the reality of it all struck me. These weren't just soldiers preparing for a mission. They were people risking everything for love, loyalty, and family. It was both heartbreaking and inspiring. Then another thought hit me. They were about to risk their lives to rescue someone the world might see as a criminal. I never thought I'd see the day. Marcus caught my eye and offered a reassuring nod. "We'll get him back, Lucas," he said. I nodded slowly. "I know you will." Chapter 26. Lucas POV. It had been 2 hours since the team left, and the room had grown eerily quiet. Guards were stationed all around the camp, especially near Carson's quarters. I could hear their faint movements outside, but inside, everything felt heavy and tense. The silence didn't help. It only made my anxiety about Adrian's kidnapping worse. Jesse and Lakin tried to fill the void with small talk, and Rivers and I occasionally chimed in, but none of us had the heart for conversation. My mind was with Adrian, wherever he was, and I knew Rivers' thoughts were with Marcus. As for Grady, his usual energy was gone. He hadn't spoken a word since the others left. Instead, he sat quietly in a corner, gripping his phone like he expected Thomas to call at any moment. The doctor had come by only once since the mission began, and I was at least thankful for that. Jesse and Lakin were already worrying over everyone enough. "He's worried about me and Adrian," Rivers suddenly said, breaking the silence. We all turned toward him. He had been giving us updates on Marcus' emotions ever since they left. It was the only thing keeping us sane. For the first time, I found myself wishing I had that kind of connection with Adrian. I had no doubt the others were thinking the same. "Do you think they're there yet? Does that mean he's found Adrian? Or is something wrong?" Lakin asked. "I don't know," Rivers replied with a sigh. "I can only feel what he feels. I can't read his mind." "Then how do you know he's worried about you and Adrian specifically?" Lakin pressed. Rivers shrugged. "It's hard to explain." We all fell quiet again, each of us lost in our own thoughts. I shifted uncomfortably on the narrow bed while Lakin pulled a chair closer and sat beside me. "If we don't find something to do, the next few hours are going to feel endless," Jesse murmured. "They'll feel that way regardless," Rivers muttered, and no one disagreed. "I just don't understand," Lakin said softly. "Why Adrian?" "Maybe they saw an opportunity and took it," I answered. Rivers looked at me. "You don't seem that worried." I met his gaze. "Everything isn't always as it seems." "I'll never understand your relationship," Rivers said after a pause. "You two seem more miserable than happy." I thought about it for a moment before replying. "You're right, it probably looks that way. Adrian and I don't have the kind of relationship people usually expect. If we're not having problems, we're on the verge of having one," I admitted with a quiet laugh. "I guess you could call us dysfunctional. But that doesn't mean I don't love him. And I know he loves me. We'll never be the kind of couple that's all about romantic gestures or weekend getaways. That kind of thing works for some people, it just doesn't work for us. And honestly, I'd choose what we have over anything else." "No offense," I added quickly. Rivers gave a small smile. "None taken. Every relationship is different. Just because you don't show your love like we do doesn't mean you don't feel it deeply." Jesse spoke up next. "If it works for you, then why did you leave him?" "That situation wasn't about our relationship, it was about his lifestyle," I said quietly. "I just couldn't handle it at the time." "And now?" Jesse asked again. "I don't know," I admitted honestly. Rivers studied me for a moment. "What if something happens to him? What will you do then?" I offered a small, uncertain smile. "If Adrian doesn't make it, it'll break me. But I know him. He'd fight with everything he has to come back. He doesn't give up easily." Grady finally spoke up, his voice trembling with conviction. "If Thomas dies, I'm going with him." He looked right at me, and I could tell the others felt the same about their partners. They'd all follow the people they loved, no matter the cost. And even though I hadn't said it aloud, I knew it too. If something happened to Adrian out there, it would destroy me completely. Adrian's POV. 24 hours. That's all I was giving him, Marcus. 24 hours to come get me. And if he didn't, a lot of people would regret it. I didn't want things to go that way. Deep down, I knew many of these men were just following orders. They didn't deserve what was coming. But Lucas was still bedridden, and I needed to be by his side. If anyone tried to stop me, I'd make sure they failed. 24 hours. And then they'd see a side of me they'd never forget. Something wasn't right with this guy. The thought crossed my mind for the fourth time that day. Adrian Corsetti, that was the name of the man we had by mistake. We were supposed to grab Carson, but my men had messed it up. I described Carson in detail, down to his height, complexion, even his shoes. And still, they brought me the wrong man. Next time, I get an actual photo before sending them out. Not that I wanted a next time. I just wanted this over. My wife had inherited her late father's thirst for power. I'd hated the man, and yet here I was, carrying out her revenge for him. The plan had seemed simple at first. Capture Carson, eliminate him, take control of his pack. But nothing about it had gone as planned. Carson's people were resilient, and despite our preparation, and even with inside help, it had been chaos. Now, instead of Carson, we were stuck with one of the most feared men in the UK's underworld. Just my luck. I glanced at him from across the room. He sat cross-legged inside the cage, calm and composed, as if being trapped was nothing new to him. His calmness was unnerving. "Isn't this the part where you tell me your grand plan and laugh at your victory?" Adrian asked suddenly, his tone almost playful. His confidence grated on me. "This isn't a movie," I muttered. "So just stay quiet." He tilted his head, studying me. His calmness made me uneasy. "Judging from your frustration," he said, "I'd say I wasn't the one you meant to capture." I clenched my jaw and ignored him. "You messed up," he continued, smirking. "You had one job and you failed. Who planned this anyway?" I glared at him. "You're one to talk. It took 3 men to take you down." He raised an eyebrow. "So, you admit it then, you needed 3 people to capture 1 man. Must make you feel proud." His sarcasm stung, and I had to fight the urge to yell at him. "Be quiet before I find a smaller cage to put you in," I snapped. That finally wiped the smirk off his face. His expression hardened, and for a moment, his piercing eyes met mine. "You shouldn't have made that mistake," he said quietly. "Either let me out and make yourself useful, or leave me alone." Then, as if bored, he leaned back against the wall, closing his eyes. Adrian's POV. The next time someone entered the room, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. "You've got company," the man from earlier said. He was flanked by 4 guards, 2 on each side. But it wasn't the guards that caught my attention. When one of them opened the cage door and pushed someone inside, my breath caught. A small child, no more than 2 years old, stumbled toward me. Before I could react, she wrapped her tiny arms around my neck. I froze, unable to comprehend what was happening. Lucas POV. The scream woke me. It cut through my dream, dragging me back to reality. When I opened my eyes, Jesse and Lakin were crouched on the floor beside Rivers, who looked pale and shaken. Grady hovered nearby, worry etched on his face. "Something's wrong," Rivers whispered, and my heart sank. Chapter 27. Marcus POV. The moment the bullet struck Thomas, I caught him and pressed him against the wall beside me, keeping him out of the open fire. The area outside was chaos, gunfire echoing through the woods, but so far, we hadn't lost anyone. I was determined to keep it that way. While I covered our flank, one of the guards crouched beside Thomas, pulling off his jacket to check the wound. "It's just a scratch." "Go do something useful," Thomas muttered, waving the man off. After a short hesitation, the guard nodded and returned to his position. We had barely crossed into enemy territory and were already facing resistance. I could only hope they hadn't called for reinforcements, but deep down, I knew they probably had. We needed to move fast. I glanced at Thomas, who was tying a strip of cloth around his arm. It definitely wasn't just a scratch. "Maybe you should fall back. I can send 2 men with you," I told him. He shook his head firmly. "I'll be fine," he insisted, pushing off the wall and raising his weapon again. We pressed forward for about an hour, moving deeper into the dense forest. We were closer to our destination when Thomas suddenly stumbled against me. I quickly pulled him behind the nearest cover, a thick, sturdy tree. "It's slowing me down," he said through gritted teeth. "I have to get it out." His skin was pale, and sweat rolled down his temples. His breathing was shallow. He looked terrible. For a second, I wondered if he'd make it through the night. "Someone hand me a lighter," I ordered, and one of the guards quickly passed it to me. I pulled out my pocket knife and held the blade over the flame while another man removed the blood-soaked cloth from Thomas's arm. "We don't have anything to disinfect the wound," I warned. "If I remove the bullet, there's a chance of infection." "It won't get infected. Just do it," he said, clenching his jaw. "How long until you heal?" I asked, more to distract him than anything. "Once it's out, it'll start to heal right away." "A week, maybe less," he answered, his voice strained. I nodded, trying to focus. Despite everything, I realized I was actually worried about him. I must be getting soft. When the bullet finally came out and I tied another strip around his arm, he didn't look much better, if anything worse. I debated sending him back, but we couldn't afford to lose another fighter. We needed every man. As I stood, I suddenly felt an overwhelming rush of emotion. Fear, distress, and panic, all hitting me at once. I'd been so focused on Thomas that I'd unconsciously shut out River's emotional link. Now it came flooding back. Thomas looked up at me. "What is it?" "It's Grady," I said quickly. Rivers must have picked up on what I was feeling before and told him something's wrong. Thomas frowned. "And?" "I don't know. Rivers can sense emotions, he probably knows you're hurt. Grady must be panicking." Thomas groaned and reached toward me. "Give me your phone. I have to call him." "You can call later," I said firmly. "Right now, we need to move. If we don't meet Carson on time, he'll think something's gone wrong." He didn't like it, but he knew I was right. I helped him to his feet, and moments later, we pushed forward again. Lucas POV. "It's Thomas, Rivers paused mid-sentence, his voice trembling. "What about him?" Grady demanded. His face had gone pale, his hands shaking. Rivers looked lost. "I'm not sure. Something just feels wrong." "But what's wrong? How do you know it's him?" Grady pressed, his voice breaking. "I just know," Rivers replied softly. "You know how this works. I can't explain it." Grady swallowed hard. "Is it bad?" "I don't know," Rivers said helplessly, glancing from me to Grady. "But I can feel his fear, Marcus's too. It's stronger than usual." Grady fumbled for his phone. "I need to call him." His hands trembled so much that he nearly dropped it. "Grady," I said carefully, "you know their phones are probably off during missions. Let's wait a little." But he was already dialing. When the first call didn't go through, he muttered under his breath. The second try failed too, and by the third attempt, Jesse had crossed the room to hug him while Lakin gently took the phone from his hand. "What did you sense exactly?" I asked Rivers. He looked uneasy. "Fear. Deep concern. More than usual." I nodded grimly. The unease in the room thickened. Grady stepped back, pulling away from Jesse. "Maybe we can reach someone else," he suggested desperately. "They won't answer either," Lakin said softly. "You know the rules during operations." Grady ran a hand through his hair. "Then I'll go find him myself." He didn't move. We all knew how impossible that would be. "Rivers, can't you try to reach Marcus? Send him something emotionally strong, make him feel it." I asked. Rivers shook his head. "It doesn't work that way." Grady's frustration boiled over. "Then what good is it?" he shouted. "Grady, enough," I said firmly. He glared at me. "This is your fault. If you'd stayed in London, Thomas wouldn't be out there risking his life for Adrian." I took a breath, forcing calm into my voice. "I know you're angry, but this would have happened whether we were here or not. This isn't about us. It's Victor's daughter seeking revenge on Carson's pack, not." "Then why take Adrian?" Grady snapped, cutting me off. I stayed silent. He was in pain. Letting him vent was better than arguing. "Maybe Marcus just overreacted," Lakin offered gently. "Maybe Thomas is fine. How do they feel now, Rivers?" Rivers hesitated, and the look on his face said it all. Grady's shoulders slumped. He walked back to his corner of the room and sat down, his expression filled with worry and exhaustion. No one spoke after that. Each of us retreated into our own thoughts. The truth was, it wasn't just Grady who was scared anymore. If Thomas was hurt, it meant the mission wasn't going well. And if it wasn't going well, then any one of our partners could be next. Adrian's POV. I wasn't sure how to handle children. But even I knew that a 2-year-old should be crying or frightened in a place like this, not calm and silent. When she'd first been shoved into the cell, she had run straight toward me and wrapped her tiny arms around my neck. I froze in shock. The idea that they had thrown a child into this filth made my stomach turn. After the shock wore off, I gently asked her name, where her parents were, but she didn't respond. When I touched her back, I realized she had fallen asleep in my arms. Now she was curled up against me, her breathing soft and even. She looked so small, fragile, and far too innocent to be trapped in a place like this. No one had come to the room since she arrived, so I had no idea why she was here, or what they wanted with her. All I knew was that my original plan to escape wouldn't work anymore. Not with a child depending on me. So, for now, all I could do was wait, and pray that Marcus and the others reached us before it was too late. Lucas POV. Grady had been pacing the room for over an hour. None of us dared to interrupt him. His tension filled the air like a storm about to break. Every step echoed the worry that none of us could ease. Then his phone rang. The sharp sound shattered the silence, making all of us jump. Grady fumbled for it, hands trembling slightly, and pressed answer. "Hello." His voice was unsure, but filled with hope. We all watched as relief washed over his face, his shoulders loosening as a small smile broke through. "Thomas," he breathed. At once, everyone in the room went still. "Thank God. Are you okay?" Rivers said. Grady paused, listening intently. His smile faded as his brows knitted in concern. "How bad is it? Be honest with me." He took a step forward, his voice tightening. "You should come back home. Or I'll come get you." "Where are you?" A moment passed, then he shook his head. "Then get one of the guys to take you back. The doctor's here, we can." His tone rose. "You're not coming back? Thomas, you've been shot. You can't stay there." Rivers gasped softly. Grady took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "Please, they've got plenty of people out there. They can handle this. You're hurt." He moved to the corner of the room, leaning against the wall, eyes closed as he listened. His hand gripped the phone tightly. "Well, I need you too," he whispered harshly. "Let them handle it for once. You need to come back where it's safe." It was clear Thomas wasn't budging because Grady's voice cracked slightly as he snapped, "I'm being selfish? You're the one who left without asking how I felt about it." I glanced around the room, no one dared speak. Then his tone softened again. "Thomas, please." His voice wavered, quiet and raw. He turned his back to us, pressing his forehead against the wall. "I have a bad feeling about this," he whispered, barely audible. "Please, I'm begging you. What if something happens to you?" He paused, then added in a trembling voice, "Come home, for me. That's all I want. Do this for me, just this once." River's eyes were misty, and Lakin looked devastated. Even Jessie, who always hid her emotions well, couldn't disguise the worry in her gaze. "I know you do. I love you too, but..." Grady stopped abruptly. His expression fell. "No. No, Thomas, don't hang up." "Thomas? Hello." Silence. He looked down at his phone, pressed redial, waited, then tried again, twice, 3 times, before finally shoving the phone back into his pocket. His shoulders slumped as he stared blankly out the window. I pushed myself up, wincing at the soreness in my muscles, and crossed the room. Placing a hand on his shoulder, I said quietly, "Thomas is one of the strongest people I know. If he said he'll come back, then he will. You just have to trust him." For a moment, I thought he would pull away. Instead, Grady turned, burying his face against my chest, his body shaking with silent sobs. I held him, not saying a word. In the short time I'd known him, I'd learned that Grady rarely let anyone see him vulnerable. But now, all his strength had cracked, his emotions spilling out in quiet waves. It struck me just how serious this was, not just another mission. For the first time, I felt true fear for Adrian's safety. Scotty's POV. I'd taken down more enemies in the past 4 hours than I had in my entire life. The thought haunted me even as I reloaded my weapon. Would I ever be the same after this? Carson fired another round beside me, the sound echoing through the trees. I followed his lead, taking down 2 more opponents. So far, things were under control, but I couldn't help wondering how Marcus and Thomas were holding up. We'd split into 2 groups earlier to cover more ground. The plan was to meet up north of the 3rd gate, where Carson's team would neutralize the guards while Adrian's men surrounded the main camp. Then, Carson, Thomas, Marcus, and I would slip inside quietly to rescue Adrian. But this wasn't just a rescue mission, it was a takeover. The rival pack had been led by reckless leaders who brought nothing but chaos to innocent lives. This was Carson's 3rd time dealing with them. The first raid had taken his mother. The second, led by Victor, their former alpha, had nearly destroyed Carson's pack before Lucas intervened. Now, Victor's daughter was in charge, seeking revenge for her father's death. But what didn't make sense was Adrian's abduction. By him. What did they want? Whatever it was, I wasn't about to lose my brother. Gunfire rained down again, splintering the tree above my head. I dropped low, crawling behind a thicker trunk for better cover. Some of them are transforming. Carson shouted over the chaos. Great, I muttered, checking my ammo. What do we do? They'll overpower us like this. Carson turned briefly, shouting back, a few of us need to shift, you and your men cover us. He passed his weapons to another fighter and nodded at me. I'd wondered how Adrian's men would react to seeing their allies transform into wolves, but they didn't even flinch. Instead, they fought harder, their resolve unshaken. Maybe Adrian had prepared them for this. Go! I yelled. In seconds, Carson and a few others shifted into their wolf forms and charged forward. Cover them! I commanded, signaling my team. I dashed behind another tree, closing in on the battle. The night echoed with roars, gunfire, and the clash of bodies, the sounds of loyalty and desperation. Every shot fired, every movement made, carried one thought in my mind. We will bring Adrian home. Chapter 28. This has gone too far, Victoria. That child isn't much older than our own. I confronted her the moment I stepped into the room. It took me a second to realize she wasn't alone, and when I saw Jessup standing there, every muscle in my body tensed. I clenched my teeth to stop myself from saying what I really wanted to. That man had a way of getting under my skin without even opening his mouth. Get out. I need to talk to my mate, I said firmly. Jessup didn't move. Instead, he had the nerve to smirk at me as if testing my patience. I looked to Victoria, silently asking her to handle it. She sighed dramatically, just as I expected, before turning to Jessup. With a subtle tilt of her head toward the door, he finally obeyed and left. I can't keep that little girl down there, I started. We don't even know what that man's capable of. I understand you want revenge on Carson for what he did to Victor, but taking an innocent child was never part of the plan. Guilt weighed heavy on me. I still couldn't shake the image of that terrified little girl when we locked her in the cell with the Corsetti twin. Victoria's hunger for vengeance was spiraling out of control, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I could keep following her down this path. You worry too much, Neil, she said, brushing off my concern. We needed another hostage. They might not come for Corsetti alone, but taking someone from Carson's pack ensures he'll show up. It's unfortunate the one they grabbed happened to be a child, but in war, there are always sacrifices. Her tone was calm, too calm, as she spoke while applying makeup in front of the large mirror. Gone was the gentle woman I had once fallen in love with. The person standing before me now was someone else entirely cold, calculating. If I hadn't been bound to her by both love and duty, I would have taken our child and left long ago. You don't know Carson like I do, Vicky, I warned quietly. He'll destroy everything to get to us. No one touches his pack and walks away unscathed. Victoria turned toward me, her movements graceful and deliberate. A soft smile played on her lips as she approached, her confidence unwavering. I'm not afraid of Carson, she said. Jessup told us everything we need to know, how he thinks, what he fears, and what his next move will be. We'll be fine. I frowned. Jessup betrayed his own pack. What makes you so sure he won't betray us next? Her smile vanished instantly. You may be my mate, Neil, but don't forget, I'm your alpha. Don't raise your voice at me. Her words struck like a whip. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Reluctantly, I apologized, and as expected, she softened right away. Go ahead and separate the girl if that makes you feel better, she said dismissively. It's probably best they're not in the same cell anyway. For a fleeting moment, I thought she cared about the child's safety, until she added, keeping them apart will make it harder for Carson to find them if, by some miracle, he even makes it this far. I didn't respond. I just turned and walked out. Jessup was standing in the hall when I passed. He gave me that same smug look before slipping back into Victoria's study. As I made my way to the cell holdings, my thoughts were spinning. I had two choices: stay and let Victoria destroy herself with this plan, or take our daughter and run before it was too late. Both choices would change everything. For a moment, I'd convinced myself we could win, that Victoria would finally feel safe again and maybe, just maybe, turn back into the woman I'd fallen in love with. But the longer I stood in those dark hallways, the more that fragile hope began to fade. Carson was ruthless when it came to protecting his pack. I'd seen it firsthand when I lived among them. And now, fear crept into my heart, not for myself, but for her. I loved Victoria more than I could ever express. She was my mate, bound to me in body and soul. But my daughter, she was my everything. If it came down to choosing between them, I already knew what I would do. I took a deep breath, fighting back the tears that burned behind my eyes. It wasn't fair that things had to end like this. When I reached the holding cells, I paused at the door, not entirely sure what stopped me from entering right away. Inside, I saw them, the Corsetti twin and the little girl, completely unaware of my presence. "How many are these?" the child asked, holding up her tiny hands. "6. Corsetti guessed, pretending to think hard. The girl giggled. "Notice. See." She wiggled her fingers proudly. "Wow, you're so smart," Corsetti said warmly. I found myself smiling despite everything. It was such a small, innocent moment, something pure in the middle of all this chaos. He was treating her kindly, almost like a father would. If they had to be imprisoned because of Victoria's choices, at least they had each other. I stepped back silently, closing the door behind me. I climbed the stairs quietly to my daughter's room. She was fast asleep, surrounded by white lace and soft cotton, looking so peaceful, like a little angel untouched by the cruelty of our world. For a moment, I just stood there, memorizing her face. Then, before I could lose my nerve, I packed a small bag, slung it over my shoulder, and gently lifted her into my arms. Holding her close, I whispered a silent promise and walked down the stairs, past the silent halls and out the door. Victoria would have to face what was coming on her own. I only hoped that one day, she'd understand why I did it, and maybe, if mercy still existed in her heart, she'd forgive me. If not, I could only pray she wouldn't come after us. Marcus POV. Thomas wasn't as pale as before, but he still looked like he could collapse any moment, and that worried me. We needed to take control of the enemy pack soon so we could get him the care he needed. I just wished he'd listen and go back to camp, but the man was too stubborn for his own good. He reminded me a lot of Adrian in that way. "You want to take a break?" I asked, even though I already knew what his answer would be. As expected, Thomas shook his head and pushed past me, determined to prove his strength. "You don't need to push them so hard," he said between breaths. "I don't plan on dying today." "It's not just you dying that I'm worried about," I replied, earning a faint, sympathetic look from him before he ducked behind a nearby tree. Gunfire still echoed in our direction, but it didn't seem like the enemy really knew what they were doing. "Adrian seems like a man who can take care of himself," Thomas said, panting heavily. "It's not Adrian I'm worried about," I answered, dropping my empty weapon to the ground. "Then who?" he asked, confusion crossing his face. I glanced at him. "Ever notice how you've never seen Adrian shift? Even when you've seen me and Scotty do it?" Thomas frowned, thinking. Around us, our men cheered when they took down another of the enemy. "Yeah, so there's a reason he doesn't shift." I ducked as a spray of bullets hit the tree above my head. "This isn't working," I shouted over the chaos. "We'll have to fight them as wolves." "Wait, what happens when he shifts?" Thomas yelled back. But there was no time to explain. I pulled the knife from my boot, tossed it aside, and shifted with the others. We couldn't win this fight with human weapons. It was time to let our true selves out. Adrian's POV. Hours passed as I tried to keep the little girl entertained. I'd learned that she wasn't 2 years old as I'd first thought, but 4. She was small, cheerful, and endlessly energetic, so full of life that I couldn't help but admire her spirit. Dealing with a happy child, I figured, was far better than trying to calm a crying one. She seemed like any other 4-year-old, though honestly, I didn't have much experience with kids. Still, she was bright, she could count all the way to 50, though I wasn't sure if that was impressive or just normal for her age. I winced when she tugged a little too hard on my hair, but I didn't say anything. She was singing some song softly while playing with my hair, and for once, the sound made the cold cell feel a little less empty. I glanced around again, my mind racing for a way out that wouldn't put her in danger. But there wasn't one, not that I could see. The only escape route I knew was too risky to even consider. "Where are your mom and dad, Steffi?" I asked gently. She told me her name earlier. I assumed it was short for Stephanie. "In heaven," she said simply, and went back to her song. Her calmness caught me off guard. "You want to tell me what happened to them?" I asked carefully, keeping my tone light. I'd read somewhere that children responded better to a gentle voice. "Sissy says they're in heaven," she said after a pause. I'd learned earlier that Sissy was a woman from her pack who sometimes took care of her. When her singing faded into silence, I didn't press for more. I sighed quietly. Lucas would have known what to do in my place. I had no idea how to talk to kids. You never knew what might make them cry or smile. "You okay, sweetheart?" I asked softly. She stopped playing with my hair, moved around, and sat in my lap. The trust she showed in that small gesture both touched and unsettled me. I couldn't stop thinking about how many people out there would take advantage of someone so innocent, and suddenly, I wanted to protect her from all of it. It was strange, wanting to shield a child when I was the one trapped and helpless. "Can we go home now?" she asked quietly. It didn't surprise me. This was no place for a child. "We just have to stay here a little while longer," I said gently. "But I promise I'll get you home, okay?" It wasn't a promise I made lightly. I didn't know if she believed me, but she leaned back against my chest anyway and started humming her song again. I still didn't know what the song was about, but somehow, it gave me hope. Scotty's POV. Thomas and his team arrived in the courtyard only a few minutes after we did, looking just as confused as we were. After everything we'd gone through, gunfire, shifting wolves, chaos everywhere, we expected to walk into another battle when we reached the enemy's camp. But what greeted us was silence. No movement. No voices. Nothing. It was unsettling. Still, even though the place looked empty, I could feel that we weren't alone. The air was thick with tension, the kind that made the hairs on the back of your neck stand straight. We'd walked right into a trap. I'd hoped Thomas's group would have sensed it before charging down here, but apparently not. Within seconds of their arrival, the enemy revealed themselves. And when I saw how many there were, I knew running wasn't an option. Chapter 29. Lucas POV. It had been 10 long minutes since Rivers dropped the news, 10 minutes since I'd started listing the number of guards we'd need for the mission, 10 minutes since I made the decision that we were going to carry it out, no matter what. 10 excruciating minutes filled with nothing but fear, worry, and anger. Fear for the life of the man I loved more than reason, worry for his safety, and anger at the people who dared to take him from me. From the moment Adrian was captured, I refused to believe he wouldn't make it back alive. I'd convinced myself that somehow his brothers would find him and bring him home, and we'd all put this nightmare behind us. But now, with Rivers' report echoing in my head, all I could think about was Adrian, lying somewhere cold and still, buried in a marked grave. I couldn't let that happen. I wouldn't. Because despite everything we'd faced, I couldn't imagine a world without him. After Jesse finished rewrapping the bandage around my ribs, I forced myself to focus. There was no time for grief, only action. I pulled out weapon after weapon from the armory, handing them to those who had already volunteered for the rescue mission. Then I turned to the guards who stood waiting nearby. There were more than 200 left at camp. Carson, always selfless, had taken less than half the men with him, leaving the rest to protect the pack. "I need at least 150 of you with me," I ordered. "Suit up. We move out in 10 minutes." No one moved. I clenched my jaw in frustration. That was the problem with pack guards. They only took orders from the Alpha or the Beta. And with Carson gone, their obedience had become hesitation. If they refused to move, I'd go with whoever was willing. Even if I had to do it alone, I'd bring Adrian back, and I'd bring Carson home too, whether or not his so-called guards deserved him. I turned to resume loading weapons, but Lakin placed a hand on my shoulder, stopping me. Then he stepped forward and faced the crowd. "I've never known a group of pack guards to abandon their alpha in his time of need," Lakin said firmly, his voice carrying across the courtyard. Murmurs rippled through the ranks. "The Alpha himself ordered us to stay here and protect the pack," one of them shouted. "You expect us to disobey?" The duty of a pack guard, Lakin continued, his voice rising with conviction, is to protect every member of this pack, with or without direct orders. You all made that oath the day you joined. Now your alpha, your beta, and your brothers in arms need you. Will you stand here and do nothing? Do you not have minds of your own to act for the good of your own pack? Silence fell. He took a deep breath and finished, as the alpha's mate, I won't command you. But if you choose to stay, know this, you're turning your back on the ones who've risked everything for you. I'll be going to help my leader when he needs me most. Anyone who wishes to do the same has 10 minutes to grab a weapon and prepare. We need 150, but if we leave with one, at least I'll know who had the courage to stand for what's right. When Lakin finished, the courtyard was still. I stared at him, surprised. I'd never seen this side of him before, so strong, so certain. Love had a way of revealing courage you didn't know you had. Within moments, the guards began to move. Quietly, purposefully, they gathered weapons and gear. Relief filled my chest, but I masked it with a nod and continued my preparations. Yo, Rivers! Hand me a gun, Grady called out from across the room. Rivers frowned. You're human, man. What do you think you're going to do out there? Grady's jaw tightened. He's right, I said, turning to him. It's not safe for you, Grady. You should stay here. We'll bring Thomas back to you, I promise. Grady scoffed. Don't give me that. Nobody's going to protect Thomas better than me. I'm the only one willing to give my life for his. Now hand me a weapon, we don't have time to argue. I hesitated. But if I were in his place, I'd do the same. Love didn't care about logic or safety. Fine, I said finally. You can come, but you're not getting a gun. Grady glared. Unbelievable. You people get less reasonable by the minute. He turned toward one of the guards. You there. As the beta's mate, I order you to give me a gun. The guard looked uneasy but, after a moment, handed one over. Grady smirked triumphantly. See? That guy has some sense. A deafening bang echoed through the armory. We all froze. Grady stood holding the gun, his face pale with shock and guilt. Are you serious right now? Rivers shouted, clutching his chest. I exhaled shakily. And that's exactly why you're not supposed to have one. My finger slipped. I swear. Grady blurted out. I snatched the weapon from his hand and flipped on the safety. You're done, Lakin said firmly, still pale from the scare. No weapon for you. What do you mean? I won't survive out there without one. Grady protested. If we give you a weapon, Rivers muttered, we won't survive out there. I tossed Grady a tranquilizer gun instead. Use this. He looked at it in disgust. Grady, Rivers warned, if you shoot me with that thing, I'm never forgiving you. Their bickering faded into the background as I finished gearing up. We didn't have time to waste. Our men needed us, and I wasn't about to let them down. Within the hour, we were ready. 92 guards and a few civilian wolves had joined us. It wasn't the full number I'd hoped for, but it was enough. We took to the trees, moving swiftly through the forest, following the same route Carson's group had used before us. The thick canopy offered cover and the advantage of surprise. Rivers hadn't shared much about Marcus and the others, only that something had gone terribly wrong. That alone was enough to keep me focused and afraid. I'd tried calling the Marcana pack for reinforcements, but they'd been attacked by Victoria's people too and couldn't send help. That left us with no choice but to rely on ourselves. Ignoring the ache in my ribs, I pressed on, my mind locked on one goal: bring them home. By the time we reached enemy territory, the sun was dipping low. The forest grew quiet, too quiet. We spread out, taking positions along the ridge overlooking the compound. From my vantage point, I could see Carson and the others in the courtyard below. They were surrounded, completely. It looked like they'd walked straight into a trap. Guns aimed from every angle, and the enemy outnumbered them at least 4-1. Looks like a fortress, Jesse whispered beside me. I don't even know how they made it in there. They didn't, I said grimly. Victoria planned it this way. Lakin shifted beside me. Then why are they still alive? It's been hours since Rivers warned us. Why not end it sooner? She's playing with them, I said quietly. The longer she keeps them on edge, the more uncertain they become. She's trying to break their spirit before she strikes. But that's risky, Jesse said. She's giving us time to get here. I sighed. Victoria's smart, but even the smartest people can be foolish. She loves control. She wants to make them sweat first, make them wonder what comes next. She's always been dramatic like that. I tightened my grip on my weapon. If she wanted a show, she was about to get one. It still amazed me how much I knew about Victoria. Then again, it made sense. I'd once been her father's loyal right-hand man. I stepped aside as two men carried my 6.8 kilogram L96 sniper rifle up the hill, setting it carefully on the dry soil. After signaling everyone else to fall back, I dropped flat onto my stomach, lining up the scope to get a clearer view of the courtyard below. From my vantage point, I could see a pile of discarded weapons lying several meters in front of Carson's men. Clearly, they'd been forced to surrender earlier. Something's wrong with Thomas, Grady suddenly exclaimed, his voice breaking through the tense silence. Before he could draw any more attention, two guards tackled him to the ground, muffling his outburst. His binoculars tumbled from his hand, and I picked them up, scanning the scene below. There he was, Thomas, kneeling on the ground, clutching his arm in pain. He looked pale and weak, worse than when he had called Grady earlier. I passed the binoculars to Rivers, who signaled the guards to release Grady. "Keep it down," I whispered sharply. "We're Thomas's only chance of getting out of there alive." Grady snatched the binoculars back, still breathing heavily. "Tell the team the beta's injured," I ordered. "We need to find a way in, fast." I knew Thomas's body could heal itself with time, but without treatment, infection could set in. We didn't have much of a window. "It's not going to be easy," Jesse said quietly. "They'll have every route guarded." I nodded grimly. "Then we wait for an opening. If we don't get one, we take them down from here, one by one." Grady shook his head in frustration. "We can't wait. Thomas is hurt." "If we rush in blind," I countered, "we'll all end up hurt, or worse. Including Thomas." He said nothing after that, only focused back through the binoculars, jaw tight. We waited. Half an hour passed before movement stirred below. Victoria stepped out into the courtyard, her followers trailing behind her, and there, among them, was Adrian, held by two guards. A few rifles immediately pointed in his direction. To my shock, a small child also walked freely beside another guard. I frowned, doing the math in my head. Victoria's daughter would only be about a year old now, too young to be this child. Then who was she? And why would they bring a child into a place like this? Jessie's sudden gasp broke my thoughts. "That's Stephanie," she whispered, eyes wide. I turned to her, confused. "She's one of the pack orphans," Jessie explained. "She lost her parents when Victor attacked us last year. Why would they bring her here?" My stomach twisted. So this was Victoria's idea of revenge, dragging an innocent child into her vendetta. Disgust rose in my throat. The courtyard fell silent as Victoria approached Carson and his group. No one dared move. Even from here, I could make out their voices if I focused hard enough. "At least let the others go," Carson was pleading. "They had nothing to do with this." Victoria laughed, the sound cold and sharp. "You're going to feel the pain I felt when I lost my father. Every man who stands with you will die, and that's on you, Carson." I didn't catch his response. One of my men had approached to whisper that there was no clear way into the compound. "Perfect. Then we'll have to do this from here," I said. "If I take her out, it'll cause enough chaos for our people to fight back. But we'll need to take down as many guards as possible before they go after Adrian and the others." Rivers clenched his fists, his voice trembling. "She could take his life any second, and he's probably down there, thinking about me." In that moment, I envied him. Despite his fear, Rivers shared a bond with his mate that nothing could shake. I couldn't help wondering if Adrian, standing expressionless under the enemy's watch, was thinking about me too. A shout from below pulled my attention back. "A child, Victoria? Are you out of your mind?" Carson yelled. Victoria smiled thinly. "Not just any child. A child from your own pack. As far as I'm concerned, you're all guilty." I'll make every one of you regret what you did to my father. I slid down the hill to regroup with some of the men. Report, I said quietly. There aren't as many as we expected, but still too many to handle head-on, one of them replied. They've got guards at every exit, inside and out. A few have already shifted. It's a wonder they haven't caught our scent yet. I thought quickly. Then we need precision. We take out the leaders first, then the guards aiming at our men. Choose the nearest exit, clear the way, and prepare to move on my signal. They nodded and scattered to relay the message. Back on the hill, I adjusted my rifle, training it directly on Victoria. Why aren't you standing with the others? She asked Thomas, her tone dripping with mockery. One of the guards whispered something in her ear, and I recognized him instantly. My jaw tightened. That traitor, Jesse muttered. Jessup. I can't believe he sold us out to her. Ah, so you're the famous Beta, Victoria continued, smirking. And injured too. How unfortunate. Maybe I'll spare you the pain of bleeding out. From beside me, Grady grabbed my arm, panic flooding his eyes. Lucas, you have to do something. She's not going to kill him, I said quickly. I know Victoria, she loves her games. You're just going to get him killed. Grady hissed, shoving past me. Before anyone could stop him, he sprinted down the hill toward the courtyard. Someone goes after him. I barked, and one of our men darted off in pursuit. I pinched the bridge of my nose. That idiot's going to get us all caught. Lakin sighed beside me. You'd do the same if Adrian were down there. He wasn't wrong. Still, worry gnawed at me as minutes passed with no sign of Grady or the guard. Then chaos erupted. Adrian suddenly collapsed, face first into the dirt. My heart stopped. Before I could process it, gunfire exploded through the air. Enemy guards began falling one after another. That's not us, one of my men shouted. It doesn't matter. I yelled back. Take them out while we can. Dropping behind my rifle, I aimed and fired, clearing as many enemies as I could. I didn't let myself think about Adrian lying motionless below or question who had just turned the tide in our favor. All that mattered now was ending this battle and bringing everyone home alive. Chapter 30. It was chaos. Wolves transformed. Shots echoed through the compound. Enemies and allies fell around us. The air was thick with shouts and screams, yet we pressed forward, driven by determination, ready to risk everything for the people we loved. I darted across the compound, dodging fallen bodies and lunging enemies. I leaped over discarded weapons and sidestepped men locked in hand-to-hand combat. Only one thought consumed me: I had to get to Adrian. I could see him lying motionless on the concrete not far ahead. My heart raced as I ran faster, desperate to reach him. It had been almost 10 minutes since I'd seen him fall, and I still didn't know what had happened. Just as I was within reach, barely 5 feet away, someone tackled me to the ground. We rolled across the rough concrete until he pinned me beneath him. My breath caught in my throat as I saw the glint of a blade, a strange weapon that looked like a cross between a dagger and a machete. He raised it above his head, ready to strike. I froze, until his eyes suddenly rolled back and he collapsed on top of me, his weight nearly suffocating me. Warm liquid trickled down my neck. Blood. His, not mine. I pushed him off with all my strength, barely glancing at his body before my eyes found Adrian again. I ran, nearly tripping over my own feet in my haste, and dropped to my knees beside him. At first glance, there was no blood. Relief washed through me, until I rolled him over and saw it. A tranquilizer dart lodged deep in his chest, dangerously close to his heart. His pulse was weak, his breathing shallow. I pulled the dart out and caught a glimpse of the initials engraved on its side before tossing it aside. Then I gently lifted his head into my lap. "Adrian," I whispered, patting his cheeks lightly. "Come on, please wake up." No response. Nearby, someone cried out in pain as a bullet struck, but I didn't look up. I couldn't. If we stayed here, in the middle of this battlefield, neither of us would survive. I slipped my hands beneath his arms and began to drag him toward the edge of the courtyard, straining with every step. "Victoria, let her go." The terrified shout stopped me cold. I turned and froze. Carson stood only a few meters away, one arm raised as if to shield someone. My eyes followed his, and that's when I saw her. Victoria stood in the open, her expression unreadable, holding a knife to the neck of a trembling little girl. Stephanie. Jesse had called her that earlier. My stomach dropped. The realization hit me hard. Victoria was actually threatening a child. Call off your men or she's gone. Victoria's voice rang out, full of fury. I sank back to my knees beside Adrian, brushing the hair from his forehead. Come on, wake up, I whispered again, voice breaking. Please, Adrian. His skin felt cool under my touch. He looked like he was only sleeping, peaceful, even as chaos raged around us. But I knew if things went wrong, there would be no way to carry him to safety. Around us, some of the fighting had slowed. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Victoria and the child. But farther away, the battle still raged, gunfire, snarls, and screams filling the air. What are you doing? A voice shouted from behind Victoria. I turned to see one of her own men glaring at her, disbelief written all over his face. How dare you question me? She roared back. And who told you to stop fighting? Take them down. But this time, only a few obeyed. The rest hesitated. You said this would be a battle of justice, the man said. But this isn't justice, it's vengeance. You're dragging innocents into this. Others nodded in agreement. Victoria's fury burned brighter. You dare stand against your alpha? She demanded. A woman from her pack spoke up, her voice trembling but steady. We follow you, Alpha, but she's just a child. This has gone too far. My eyes darted back to Adrian, still unconscious, and then across the battlefield. Grady was kneeling beside Thomas, clutching his mate's hand. Thomas looked worse than before, his body trembling with weakness. Beside them knelt a young woman, someone from Marcana's pack. Relief rushed through me. Marcana had sent reinforcements after all. The fighters were young, barely out of their teens, but skilled and brave. I made a silent vow that if I survived this, I'd make sure Marcana knew how much I owed her. Grady! I shouted across the compound. Grady! It took several tries before he heard me. He looked up, his face etched with panic and confusion. Get him out of here! I screamed, gesturing wildly toward Thomas, then pointing to the only clear exit. Go! The young woman beside him seemed to understand first. She grabbed Grady's arm and shouted something in his ear before both of them tried to lift Thomas. But his body gave out, and he fell again, groaning in pain. My heart twisted. I wanted to help, but I couldn't leave Adrian. Not now. I looked down at him, whispering, I'm sorry. Thomas needed help, but so did Adrian, and I couldn't abandon the man I came here to save. I turned my focus back to Adrian and dragged him toward a narrow gap between two buildings. It wasn't much, barely wider than an alley, but it offered enough cover. Just as I sat him down, I heard a feral scream behind me. I spun around just in time to block a wild punch from a woman charging straight at me. She was fast, too fast. She swung again and I barely dodged. She didn't shift and I wondered why. Maybe she wanted to end me with her bare hands. I was exhausted, my muscles burning from hours of fighting. I could barely lift my arms, but instinct kept me moving. When she lunged again, I caught her arm, twisted, and pulled until she screamed. She kicked out, striking my shin, but I didn't let go. Another twist, and I heard a sharp crack. Her weapon clattered to the ground as she fell back, clutching her arm and crying out in pain. Across the compound, voices rose, angry, desperate, defiant. We followed you out of loyalty to your father, someone shouted. But this isn't loyalty, it's cruelty. You can't harm the child, another cried. This isn't justice, it's madness. Victoria's expression hardened. You all dare to question me? I'm your alpha. A true alpha protects her pack, a man yelled back. You've led us into a war that never should have happened. The tension reached a breaking point. All around me, I saw people fall, some wounded, others worse. The scent of blood, the cries of pain, the growls of wolves, it all blended into one deafening storm of chaos. And I'd had enough. This had to end. I glanced at Adrian one last time before sprinting across the courtyard. My hands closed around a discarded rifle lying half-buried in the dirt. I dove for cover, rolled, and steadied my aim. Victoria stood in the open, still holding the child, shouting at Carson. Too many lives had been lost because of her thirst for vengeance. Too many good people were dying for a cause that meant nothing now. I couldn't let an innocent child be next. I took a deep breath, steadied my hands, and aimed carefully. One shot. That's all it would take. I exhaled slowly, finger tightening on the trigger. But before I could fire, something unexpected happened. I watched in disbelief as a man broke away from the rest of the group. I'd never truly understood what people meant when they said, "Time slows down," until I experienced it myself. He moved toward Victoria with a precision that seemed unreal, almost as if the world had paused around him. My weapon lowered without me even thinking about it, frozen in shock as I watched him act. In a single, decisive moment, the threat was over. The child was safe. The man gently set Victoria's body on the ground and turned to the group. Gradually, the fighting that had raged around us slowed, then stopped completely. Silence fell over the courtyard. The man stood beside Victoria, her lifeless form a stark reminder of what had just occurred. One of her own packs had ended the threat. The weight of the moment was undeniable. An alpha's fall meant a new alpha had emerged. If unchallenged, this man had, in a single decisive act, become the new leader. I couldn't help but wonder what he would do next. I felt my strength falter. If he ordered the others to continue the battle, I would fail Adrian, and all of this would have been for nothing. I exhaled slowly, my heart still racing, and glanced at Adrian, still lying unconscious. Then I looked toward Thomas and Grady, so focused on each other that they hadn't noticed the shift in leadership. Carson's eyes narrowed as he observed the new alpha, and for a moment, I held my breath. Then the man spoke, and gradually I felt some of the tension ease. "Victoria has fallen," he began. "We cannot follow someone who risks her pack for selfish gains. An alpha should be a leader we can trust, someone we can respect, someone who protects every member of the pack, not someone who harms an innocent child or puts her people in danger to prove a point. I came here today to support my alpha, as every member should, but she let us down. If you'll have me, I would like to do what she could not. It's time for the pack to have a leader chosen by its members, not someone who believes she is entitled." Cheers erupted from the crowd, signaling the pack's acceptance of the new alpha. Loyalty shifted seamlessly, respect and trust quickly replacing fear. "On behalf of my pack, I apologize to yours for today's events," the new alpha continued, turning to Carson. "We were led blindly into battle, but that does not excuse our failure to stand for what is right." Carson nodded, his expression cautious but accepting. "Thank you. In light of current events, I request aid for my injured members and transportation for our fallen so they may be laid to rest with dignity." Relief washed over me. One moment we had been in full battle, and the next we were negotiating the safety of the wounded. Anything that allowed us to leave this place was welcome. I hurried to Adrian, carefully loading him onto a stretcher and sending him off in a vehicle alongside others who were hurt. Then I turned to Thomas, who had finally fallen unconscious, with Grady still beside him, anxious and protective. War had taken lives, left grief in its wake, and caused countless injuries. Yet here we were, still alive. I ran my hand through Thomas's hair and gently patted his cheek, closing the door of the vehicle. Looking around at the quieted compound, I realized there were truly no winners in war. I didn't mean to shoot him, I was aiming for Victoria, I admitted, shaking my head. Rivers called from across the room. "I told you he didn't deserve a weapon. If it had been a gun, Adrian could have been hurt. Then where would we be?" Grady added, "The trigger on that thing was sticking, I would have taken care of her if I'd had a proper chance." We all laughed softly. Even Thomas, lying on his cot, added, "I know him better than he knows himself. I'd never give him a weapon, not even to save his own life." Grady blushed, glaring at his partner in mock annoyance. Lakin turned to Kat, a friend from Marcana's pack. "I just can't believe you all defied Marcana to come help us. What do you think she'll do when you return?" "She'll probably just give us some pack service," Kat replied with a shrug. Mark-Anna has a soft spot for everyone. Plus, we didn't lose anyone, so there's not much to lecture about. Adrian, now sitting up on his cot, said, "You must be good in combat to have come through unscathed." "We grew up emphasizing defense," Kat replied. "It's just what we're trained for." The pack horn sounded, and we all turned toward the door. It was time for Jessup's trial. "I better go," Lakin said, and soon the others followed, leaving Marcus, Rivers, Thomas, Grady, and Adrian. Rivers sank into his seat with a groan. "I don't think I can stand another trial. Couldn't they just wait until tomorrow? We just came back from battle." Thomas nodded weakly from his cot. The families of the deceased want answers, and Jessup played a major role. Without his betrayal, none of this would have happened. Grady followed Thomas with a supportive hand, both moving toward the courtyard. Rivers sighed, voice low. "It was too easy today. Too smooth. Something tells me we'll face another challenge soon. I just want to leave." Marcus leaned over and murmured, "We'll leave whenever you want." Rivers rested his head against Marcus' chest with a soft sigh, and for a moment, the tension lifted. I turned to Adrian. He met my gaze, and I offered a small, tired smile. "How are you feeling?" I asked, brushing hair from his face. He took my hand in his, and my heart melted. I swallowed hard, looking down at our joined hands before meeting his eyes. "When I was out there," I admitted softly, "for a second, I thought we might not make it. I didn't know if I'd get the chance to tell you. I'm sorry." His brows furrowed. "You're sorry? After threatening me?" I shook my head. "It wasn't fair to ask you to choose between me and your duty. I was selfish. I don't care about the rest anymore. I just want to be with you. I love you, and I can't bear being apart. I'm sorry." A quiet calm came over him. "I'm done, Lucas," he said. My heart stopped. "I'm done with that life," he continued. "It's been our crutch for so long, something we built together, but it's not right anymore. I shouldn't have put your life at risk. I never should have asked you to choose." I looked away, overwhelmed, letting the weight of his words sink in. After everything, heartbreak, fights, distrust, even the fear of losing each other, we were finally on the same page. Fear had brought us clarity. I chuckled softly. "We're probably the most dysfunctional couple anyone could meet," I said, resting my head on his shoulder. He wrapped his arms around me, and for the first time in so long, I felt completely happy, completely whole. I let the tears fall freely, soaking his clean shirt. After everything, I loved him enough to face it all again, so long as he was with me. It was exactly 2.5 weeks later that Grady and Thomas, along with Scotty and Jesse, had their mating ceremony. Everyone was in attendance, making it the largest pack gathering I'd seen in a long time. 3 different packs had come together to support the betas and their partners. It was the first time I'd seen Scotty looking nervous, while Grady, as expected, appeared perfectly at ease in front of the crowd. Beside me sat Adrian, dressed in a suit that accentuated every line of his body, and in his lap sat the little girl we'd both grown so attached to, Stephanie. She reminded me of my own baby sister, only this little sprite had a way of charming everyone around her. I had no doubt she'd be spoiled rotten by the time she reached elementary school, and Adrian would be the one doing the spoiling. Over the past weeks, we'd grown close, even discussing the possibility of adopting her. Adopting a child. We'd actually come that far, from a breakup I thought was permanent to building a future together as fathers. If someone had told me this a few weeks ago, I would have laughed. And yet, it felt so right. I had never been happier. "Put me down, Adri." Steffi suddenly exclaimed, wriggling in Adrian's arms, her little feet soiling his pants. "Where are you going?" I asked, and she turned to point at the stage. "Marky," she shouted, and a few heads turned in our direction. She meant Marcus, who stood at the edge of the stage helping Rivers with his role in Carson's ceremony. Marcus gestured for Adrian to bring her to him. Not long after, Adrian gently set her on the ground. "Go on, sweetheart. I'll watch from here," he said, and she darted across the chairs and people to Marcus, squealing in delight. She was a handful for sure, and I couldn't wait to call her ours. "I want to talk to Carson about the adoption again," Adrian said, and I shrugged. I was fine with whatever he decided, though Carson's initial rejection was still fresh in my mind. "We'll just have to prove we're right for her," I explained, and he nodded in agreement. "I'll find a way to convince him," he said, pushing up from his seat. "On that note, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about." "Come on," he said, tilting his head toward the compound. I followed him silently, curious. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Somewhere we can be alone," he replied, a small, nervous smile tugging at his lips. We walked down the sidewalk, leaving the ceremony behind. The warm, peaceful night was a welcome contrast to the chaos we'd experienced in recent weeks. Neither of us spoke, but the silence felt comfortable. "Is there a reason we ditched the ceremony to walk around?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. Adrian fidgeted, something I'd never thought I'd see him do. For once, he looked nervous. "What would you say about us getting married?" he asked. I laughed, thinking he must be joking, but the serious look in his eyes made me stop. "You can't be serious," I said. "Why not? What's so wrong with getting married?" I stared at him. "Adrian, it's like Carson said. Our relationship is too unstable. One minute we're in love, the next minute we're at each other's throats. We're not marriage material. And where would we even get married? Last I checked, it's not legal where we come from." "Forget what Carson said," he replied. "Just because our relationship doesn't look like everyone else's love story doesn't mean we're not right for each other. No matter what happens, we always find each other. Isn't that what matters? And we can find somewhere it's legal." He was using his "this should be obvious" tone, and I shook my head. What's getting married going to prove anyway? We already love each other more than most married couples out there. "I want my ring on your finger," he said simply. I laughed again. We'd be the only couple in the world to get divorced every few months. "Yeah, but we'd also be the only couple who could renew our vows over and over, knowing that no matter what, we'd always find each other," he whispered, moving closer. My heart swelled. God, I loved him. Lucas Corsetti? "At least my name will finally strike fear in the hearts of ordinary people," he joked, before capturing my lips in a kiss that left the rest of the world behind. Later that night, the mating ceremony after-party was in full swing. 3 packs mingled among music, dancing, and laughter. But then, something unusual caught everyone's attention. It was subtle at first, yet impossible to ignore. A presence unlike anything we'd felt before. Music faded, laughter stopped, and all eyes turned toward the source. From behind the trees stepped a powerfully built man holding a small child, alongside an equally imposing woman. There was something otherworldly about them. "We sensed your pack a few states back and thought we'd introduce ourselves," the woman said. Her voice was calm, commanding, and impossible to ignore. "We've been searching for new allies, and you are the first welcoming souls we've found." Carson stepped forward cautiously, close enough to assess them, but careful to keep his distance. He sniffed the air, hesitant, just as we all felt a mix of curiosity and unease. "What are you?" he asked. The man smiled kindly, eyes sparkling in the darkness. "We're vampires." "I knew it. And you thought I was crazy," Grady exclaimed to Thomas, clearly thrilled. The rest of us stood frozen, staring at the 3 supernatural beings before us. Adrian stepped closer to Carson, eyes narrowing. "Vampires don't exist," he said, though uncertainty lingered in his voice. "Woman, consider us your proof," the woman replied. Thanks for listening to today's BL story. If it made your heart skip a beat, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Only here on BL Stories, where love knows no limits.